It's pretty cool. So we are walking through 1 Corinthians 13 because we're learning a little more about what love is. And if there's one overarching thing I hope you grab out of this series is that love is not an emotion. That's the way we often think about it. But if you look at the long list that Paul's giving us, and we're slowly going through it, it's all action words. It's all things to do, how to treat other people. And love is, ultimately, it's unconditional and it's sacrificial. That's what true love is. Because God is love. And what we see as the perfect picture of God's love, of course, as we move through Lent and get to Good Friday, it's the cross. It's where God gives up everything for you and me so that we can have everything, even though we deserve nothing. So that's the perfect picture of love. It's very sacrificial. So anyway, as we walk through 1 Corinthians 13, we've talked about how love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud or rude, it does not insist on its own way. And it's in this very beautiful language. I think most weddings, this passage is read because it sounds so wonderful and so beautiful and so nice. But if you ever think about actually trying to do all those things, it's a little overwhelming. That's a really high bar to try to clear. If that's what love is, I've still got work to do. And we all do. But today I want to specifically focus in on love is not irritable. And you don't have to raise your hand. I'm going to start with the assumption that you and I spend a lot of time being irritated. I don't know what irritates you. I'll share some of the things that irritate me are traffic jams. It makes no sense. There are no stoplights on the interstate. Cars should never come to a complete stop. Just throw in random human behavior. Anyway. Something that irritates me, it really does, I'm not making this up, it's getting in the wrong checkout line. And it's really is that you'd think you'd have a 50-50 shot, but I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, I'm in the wrong, slowest line. And I know because I always check. I mark the guy that walked up right where I would have been. And, I take one step, he takes 3. I take one, he takes 3. I take one, and he's out the door. I'm like, are you kidding me again? Another thing that irritates me, politics. A lot of things in politics. Obviously, I won't get into the details, but just the things that seem so obvious. This is obviously true. That's obviously ridiculous. And they say the most crazy things. It's very irritating. Another thing that's irritating to me, don't have to worry about it anymore, is daylight saving time. I don't know how many of you guys have to deal with that. Actually, I got a little movie clip. There's a movie coming out about the daylight saving.
Hello?
You're here early.
I thought I was late.
Check again.
They call it daylight savings. They said it would help the farmers. They didn't expect it to destroy everything else.
It gets dark so early now.
We gained an hour, but we've lost light.
Wait, didn't we lose an hour?
No, we spring forward, fall back. Or is it fall forward?
It's too confusing.
Don't you see what's happening? All the people are going to have to change their clocks back. We have to warn them.
Early bird catches the worm.
Tina, you have to come with me.
Where are we going?
We're going to a place where daylight savings doesn't exist. The colored Arizona.
You can't run from this. Doesn't add up!
Don't you see? Daylight savings is just an imaginary construct!
It's daylight saving. It's not plural.
This is tearing us all apart!
In theater soon. Look for that. Very irritating. Lots of things that are irritating. So Jesus tells us a parable this morning about a judge who's very irritated. And of course, the lesson is that we should always pray and never give up. And he tells us that at the very beginning. He gives us the main point. He told them the parable of the effect that they ought to always to pray and not lose heart. Then he tells them, in a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected man. And let me translate the Koine Greek into the modern English. It says the judge is a jerk. He doesn't fear God, but he doesn't even care about other people. He doesn't care how his decisions affect their lives or the community. He just does whatever he wants to do, no regard for people. And then comes along a widow. Now, if you remember, a widow is at the very bottom of society, the bottom of the totem pole, the lowest class. Nobody in town cared about the widow. There's no way that this high, awesome, mighty judge jerk is going to care about the widow. But the widow comes to the judge because she needs help. She says, give me justice against my adversary. Now, the judge is what I'm going to call self-absorbed. People are self-absorbed, get very irritated when people ask something of them, whether it's more of their time, more of their energy, more of their thoughts, more of their money, more of their attention, whatever it is. Just the thought of somebody needing something from them just irritates them. It's someone who's very self-absorbed. The opposite of that is someone who's servant-hearted. Now, if someone is servant-hearted, they get excited when they see a need. Usually, you don't have to wait for somebody to come and ask. They see the need, and they are inspired because of how much God has answered their needs and how many different ways they can help and bless other people. They're just always looking for ways to share God's blessings with other people. That's someone who's very servant-hearted, the complete opposite of the judge. But Jesus goes on about this story. So for a while, the judge refused, wouldn't hear her. But after a while, he said to himself, and he admits it, right? I'm a jerk. though I neither fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, right? Not because it's the right thing to do, not because I feel sorry for her, not because someone helped me out once in my life, I'm going to pass it on. No, because she keeps bothering me, I'm so irritated with her, I'm going to give her justice so she'll leave me alone. She will not continually beat me down. What an attitude. What an attitude. We don't know what her case was, we don't know who her adversary was, but we know that she was persistent. So every time the judge showed up to work, there she was. Every time he turned around, there she was. Until he was just enough, absolutely fed up, fine. To get rid of you, I'll hear your case, I'll make a ruling, go away. Go away. So the Lord gives us a point to this parable. He says, hear what the unrighteous judge says. Okay, I'm going to give you justice, so you go away. So will not God give justice to his elect who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? And of course, the obvious answer to this question is no. The point Jesus is making is not that God is an unjust judge. He is making an argument from lesser to greater. He gives this, it's not so crazy, it happens in real life, but this kind of extreme example of an unjust judge who doesn't care about anybody, and yet even for poor motives and bad reasons, he will grant justice. So how much more will our God, who is just and is loving, give to his beloved children justice and mercy? Of course, he will do it. He will not delay long. So if you think about love is not irritable, there's just a few things I want to highlight, I want you to recognize today. And the first thing is that we get irritated with each other. It happens. And a lot of times we get the most irritated with the people who are the closest to us. It's just how it works. But it's not healthy for relationships. Okay, getting irritated, it's not good for the other person, and it's not good for us either. So God gives us an antidote for being irritated with other people. Do you know what the antidote is? It is hospitality. 1 Peter 4:9, show hospitality to one another without grumbling. Now, when you're irritated with somebody, what do you want to do? Push them away. Keep them at arm's length. To show hospitality to someone is to welcome them in. See that? I don't know how many of you have been to Best Practices for Ministry. It's a ministry conference held at Christ Lutheran down in the city in Phoenix every year. And it is just an amazing picture of hospitality. Of course, you learn a lot. There's great breakout sessions, great plenary speakers. But what everybody walks away with, completely blown away, is their hospitality. It's incredible. Oh, they have a very small parking lot, and thousands of people show up, so they have to borrow parking lots from businesses, shopping strips, churches, synagogues, all over it, and they have shuttle buses running. But from the parking lot, traffic directors, to the greeters, to the sign-in tables, the long lines, to the people serving the food. Oh yeah, there's food all day long, like a cruise ship. Very hospitable. But the people are so welcoming. It's amazing because, like, say the parking lot, you know they get asked like the same question 1,000 times. Or even complaints. I can't find a handicap spot. Or I need to unload something before I go to the... And you know what? They don't get irritated. Every time you talk to them, they make you feel like you just made their day. It's amazing. Big smile. That's hospitality. I don't know, maybe more people. Have you been to Disney? Disneyland, Disney World? Okay, pretty much everybody. All right. Hospitality is Disney's secret sauce to success. It's absolutely their secret sauce. That's the core of their customer service model. And the next time you're at one of the Disney parks, if you want to just take a second to step out of the characters in the fantasy world, look around. Watch the people at the rides, watch the concessions people, watch the characters, and you'll see these smiles. You'll see this wonderful hospitality. At Desert Foothills, we want to be radically hospitable. From our parking lot to orienting our complex of buildings to greeting people and finding a seat, big smiles, warm handshakes, pat on the shoulder, so glad to see you. When you're irritable with somebody, you want to hold them at arm's length. Hospitality is like the arms of God open wide, welcoming all people. That's the antidote to being irritable with other people, hospitality. Next thing I want you to recognize is that we get irritated with God. Does anybody want to admit that? You can keep it to yourself. The fact is, we do get irritated with God. Because we look around, we see so many things that God's not doing that he should be. And we think about the things that we have prayed for so hard. We prayed so hard for so long. And we know that it is so clear and so obvious that this is the answer. That's not what he's doing. It's easy to get irritated with God. Isaiah 30 says, therefore the Lord waits to be gracious to you, and therefore he exalts himself to show mercy to you. For the Lord is a God of justice. He is just. Now look, blessed are those who wait for him. The antidote for being irritated with God is patience. Now, I just preached a whole sermon on patience a few weeks ago, but this is just one point, so I'm going to steal from it and use it again. Patience enhances trust. And I will say that trust and confidence in God, that empowers patience. Because God wants to build a track record in our lives, and when we have a track record, we can look back with confidence that God's going to be there for us again today, and we can be patient rather than getting irritated. What happens a lot is that we'll pray for something, we get so irritated and impatient, we move on to the next thing while God is still working things out. And I wonder how many times in your life How many things have you prayed for in the decades that you've been on the earth? Have you ever prayed for a spouse? You ever prayed for children? You ever prayed for a career? Ever been lost, confused, what to do, what direction to go? Have you ever been sick? Prayed for healing. Have you had a friend or family who was sick and prayed for healing? Well, how many of those prayers has God answered? Has He answered some of them? Many of them? Most of them? God wants to build a track record so that when we look back in our lives, we have confidence that He's going to be here again today. I got time for the example. So, Sunday night is trash night in my house. Trash comes Monday morning, every Monday morning, even on holidays, which is odd to me. But so let's just pretend. I'm not saying this has ever happened. Let's just pretend that tonight we're sitting at dinner, and I remind one of the kids. I'm not going to say which one. Not going to pick on them. Just one of the kids. Hey, tomorrow's trash day. You need to take the trash out tonight. Okay, Dad, got it. And dinner's over, and maybe we've watched TV, we're ready for bed. I look over, and the trash is still sitting in the kitchen. Now, some of you know that trash left over a whole week, and that doesn't smell very good, right? So, hey, you need to take the trash out. Remember, in the morning, the trash is coming. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Okay, thanks. Go to bed, wake up the next morning, trash is still in the kitchen. Hey, remember, the trash truck is coming today. Before you leave for school, I need you to take the trash out. Oh, absolutely, Dad. Sorry, I forgot last night. I get it. Thanks. I get ready, I get dressed. I'm leaving for work. They've already left for school. The trash is still in the kitchen. Now, next week, when I say, hey, it's trash night, and they say, oh, I'll take care of it, how much patience am I going to have with them? Zero, right? They have built a very bad track record with me. Okay? Well, God is building a good track record over the years of our life as we take into account. And then here's what I was going to say. If we instead of moving on and praying for the next thing, we need to stop and say thank you for an answered prayer from the past. Because every time we say thank you, what we're doing is we're marking a moment in time where God answered us in a tangible way. A lot of times we don't notice it, but He's answered us in a way where we notice it, we've identified it, and that's going to be that track record that's going to keep us patient and not be irritated with God. So, that's the first two. The third, this is the most important of them all. God is not irritated with us. Because He should be. I mean, if we were God and we had to deal with us, we would be very irritated. But God is not irritated with us. Jesus closes out His little parable here. He says, I tell you, God will give justice to us, speedily. If this unjust judge will do it eventually, God will do it speedily. And then He ends with this lament. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes again, will He find faith on earth? In other words, after living a whole life of God providing for us and protecting us and blessing us and answering prayers, will we be so irritated and impatient that we start to walk away from Him before He returns? Because it's a cycle that is from the beginning through the Old Testament, through the New Testament, all the way up to our day today. We have times in our life when we're walking with God, and we have times in our life when we're walking away from God. And I'm going to show you in Psalm 78, he's writing and he's singing about a time during the Exodus. The people of Israel, they've come out of Egypt. They're like, yay, God, thank you, you're wonderful. And then 40 years wandering, they start to wander away from God, rebel even against God. And so this song gives us a picture into the mind of God during this time. It says, their heart, Israel, was not steadfast toward Him. They were not faithful to His covenant. Yet, He didn't get irritated. Being compassionate, atoned for their iniquity, their sins, and did not destroy them. That's what they and we all deserve. Because he is compassionate, he atoned for them, and he did not destroy them. God does not get irritated with us because God is love. Love is not irritable. Now, last example, using my own kids. We'll use everybody's kids. If you're a parent, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. Now, if you need, I'll give you permission. If you need to raise your hand low, you can do that. But here's the question. Parents, how many of you have come to recognize that sometimes kids can be very irritating? Maybe low, okay. Frustrating. And they're very expensive. Right? Okay, but here's the thing. I don't love my kids because of their behavior. I don't love them because of their success or because of their failure. And there's something growing, it's very, very, very strong in our culture today, where people, and especially our children and youth, they're starting to find their identities in their performance. How well they do, what they say, it's all about their performance. It's where they find their identity. We're talking about the deep core self of who they think they are. Now, I don't love my kids because they do well. I don't love them because of their failures. I love them because they are my children. And God is the same way. He doesn't love us because of our success. He doesn't love us because of our mistakes. He just loves us because we're his children. Every human on this earth has an identity that is rooted in God. We are all created in the image of God. We're all children of God. It's not what we do that's important, it's who we are. Jesus carried the sins of not just the people who believed in him. Jesus carried the sins of the whole world to the cross. And now we who believe in Jesus, we who follow Jesus, we have an even more informed identity. We see that we are created and recreated by his death on the cross and his resurrection from the tomb. That we are not only his children on earth, we're his children forever, the elect. And that changes everything. It changes how we interact with God. That changes how we treat one another. And that gives us purpose in life when we know who we are, whose we are. So we not only receive God's love, we reflect God's love. Love is not irritable. So God help us to be hospitable, to be patient, and to find our identity in Christ.